scenario differently. The struggle went on. And under the 1935 the first elections at the provincial levels were held in 37, 11 provinces. 7 of them went to Congress. And then came the real change in the psyche of the Musliman. What was the psyche? That the Congress in those provinces where they became governors were not willing to allow the Muslims to share any kind of power. 1940 was the result of the Minto Park Lahore resolution, now called the Pakistan resolution, which stated in emphatic terms the Muslim majority areas will become the state of Pakistan, or states of Pakistan were the words actually used. That was the basis, the raison d'etre, the Grundnorm, as the Germans call it, of the state of Pakistan. And what transpired after that? The World War II starts, the Congress says the British government has not consulted us, so we resign. Quaid-e-Azam, the Honorable M.A. Jinnah, decided in his wisdom, no, we will be part of the government. And that sustained us in a manner where some of our people got to know what the methodology of governance was. We became part and parcel of the architecture of governance and administration of India at that time. When the 46 elections took place to the Constituent Assembly of India, followed by the provincial elections, the Muslim League emerged as the real representatives of the Muslims of India. In the Punjab alone, out of 90 seats reserved for the Muslims, out of 190, the old Punjab, 190 with the seats, 90 were reserved for Muslims, 79 seats went to the All India Muslim League. That was where the real paradigm shift took place. In Sindh, the Muslim League won. Frontier was a different story. Subsequently, through a referendum, Sylhet and Frontier became part of Pakistan. Bengal, of course, was in the lead. And that was the basis of the creation of the state of Pakistan. The 580 odd princely states, which were not part of the British India directly but indirectly. As I said, the British were very clever. They didn't want to spend money, they used to extract resources out of India. India and China 200 years ago used to generate 40% of the world's GDP before the colonialists came into our regions. 40% of the GDP of the world was generated. How many of you know that? I didn't know it till I started looking at things a little more intricately. And then when partition took place, China and India were only generating 7% of the GDP. So over a period of 200 years, that is the kind of resource they extracted out of our systems. And now China has emerged as the second superpower of the world with $14 trillion economy, with America 22 trillion. And India is now at 3 trillion. Pakistan is 0.3 trillion. The reversal has started because we are self-governing. We are looking at our own interests. More importantly, how does this thing reflect on the problem today? It has a direct impact on the way what has happened in Kashmir. When the British were transferring power, tragically for our part of the country, they were not fair. They were not neutral. Why would you say that? Because the basis, Congress was not agreeing to it. They very reluctantly, when the cabinet mission plan came, 46, ABC, the Muslim League immediately agreed. Congress said, no, we have reservations. And the Honorable M.A. Jinnah said, okay, we also then don't want it. And what happened? Then the transfer plan came. A new viceroy was brought in only for 150 days. Mr. Wavell, who was much more sympathetic to the All India Muslim League, was removed, and in came Lord Louis Mountbatten, a member of the then royal family. What did he do? He then, tragically for Pakistan, and what happened in Kashmir, of which we are lamenting 72 years later, how to get out of this dilemma. What happened was that the basis of partition was Muslim majority areas. Bengal came straight to us, Punjab came straight to us, Sindh came select, and the then NWFP had to go through a referendum which said we go with Pakistan. And then the partition plan, July 4th, I think June 4th, 1947. What was the plan? Mr. Ratcliffe was imported, a judge who'd never been to the subcontinent, assisted by a commission. And what happened in that boundary plan? That laid the basis of the, if I may use the word, the cancer, which was that Gurdaspur, 53% of the Muslim majority given to India. Under what dispensation? Firozpur, 52, 53, 54% gave away a vote headquarters to India. Pani and contiguity is today what the dilemma we face today. I'm sorry to have taken up your time, but बहुत कम लोग ये बातें करते हैं जो मैंने आज कर रहा हूँ. हम आज की सिर्फ बात करते हैं और ये कश्मीर की कल क्या स्टेटमेंट थी, यूएन में क्या हो रहा है, फलां क्या हो रहा है, बुनियाद हमारी जो थी वहाँ से ख़राब हुई और मैंने इसलिए पिछले 100 साल की बात की. माजरत से डॉक्टर साहब, आई टेक अप योर टाइम. और I feel I'm one of those. I've gone through. I'm not a student of, like you are perhaps, of these things, but I read a lot to keep myself informed. And I have felt extreme unhappiness the way the British left at the time of partition. They had a total injustice in their minds. And unfortunately, because they had produced the plan on the 18th of August, they did not make it public on the 14th, day of independence in Karachi, when the Honorable M.A. Jinnah made that super speech of 11th of August. वो मैं अपनी जेब में carry करता हूँ. Because what he had diagnosed on the 11th of August has not changed a bit in 1972. I can read it out if you want, but I won't. You should all go and see what he said on the 11th of August 1947. As the Governor General designate for Pakistan. And how did we transpire then? What happened? What happened was obvious. That when Mr. Lord Louis Mountbatten presented that, it stunned Mr. Honorable M.A. Jinnah, the then Governor General designate of Pakistan, or he had become Governor General. And he was totally taken aback, but he said, a moth-eaten Pakistan. That is the tragedy that we inherited. And from that day, then comes the 26th of October, the so-called instrument of accession, which people like Mr. Lamb and others says, nobody's ever seen. And then when the fighting took place, and what is today Azad Kashmir was captured in those days physically by whoever it was. And then that became the ceasefire. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru and his cabinet decided to go and complaint to the Security Council. I don't know if they were prompted by Mountbatten or they did it on their own. They went to the Security Council. And the Security Council said, Resolution X, Resolution Y, Resolution A, Resolution B, and maybe 11 or 17 of them came about. All resolutions were in our favor. The state of Pakistan and Kashmir. And they only stated the obvious, that the will of the Kashmiris will determine the future of Kashmir. As you know, Kashmir has got different units within itself. Ladakh, Jammu Kashmir, the Vale, Azad Kashmir, Gilgit-Baltistan. And that is the dilemma that we are facing today when our Prime Minister today meets A, B and C. And to me, the most important two meetings he will have, one meeting and one where he will address the UNGA on the 27th. To me, these are going to be the real high points of his visit. Number one, the speech that he makes at the UNGA. And I'm told it has to be X number of minutes. I'm not sure whether it's 12, 14 or 16. Because they have to accommodate 193 countries of the world which go and address the annual. This is the 74th session of the UNGA. They have to go and address that, and all countries want to put their own issues in front of the world fora, in front of all the international leaders who matter. And how is the UNGA constructed? It represents all. But the power rests with 5 permanent members, even with the United Nations. The UN, as you know, is the successor to the League of Nations. And what happened after the Treaty of Versailles? The League of Nations was set up like the United Nations, that here would be a multinational forum which will give justice, adl aur insaf karega. It has never done it. In fact, the Treaty of Versailles reparations which Germans had to pay was the trigger point which brought about World War II, in my opinion. It was the quantum of the reparations which led to World War II. And a man like Hitler rose. Hitler was a corporal in World War I, but developed into one of the most effective orators that I have seen. I watched films of his. How he used to mobilize people, how he used to inspire the Germans. Yes, none of us agrees with fascist ideas at all, but we must examine how autocrats, how Führers, how people who capture power, how they can inspire people to do things which are against all normal things. This is what Hitler and Mussolini were able to do. We talk of the RSS. The RSS is no patch on what Hitler was, in my opinion. Yes, it has got the same philosophy. It has the same kind of ideology of using unnecessary power against innocent citizens, of using all the horrible things to demonize innocent citizens. That is what has happened in Kashmir in the last 72 years. And as I said, how many people go for the real values of life? How many of us uphold values of life? How many of us look at values of life? All religions say that these values are sacrosanct. But when it comes to exercising power, authority and influence, these things go by the wayside. This is why the permanent 5 members, China, United States, Russia, previously the Soviet Union, Britain, which is in trouble constantly over Brexit, 31st October is their deadline, and France with that young Macron, President of France, coming up the way he is. Pakistan has one very big advantage today in the persona of the Honorable Imran Khan. He's a star, recognized in the West. This is why Mr. Trump called him, for 2 reasons. One, that Pakistan is a key player in Afghanistan. And Trump is driven by his own election, nothing else. Yesterday, the Jalsa in Houston, 70% he placed to the gallery of Texas. Indian Muslims who are his voters, they claim there are 4 million. I don't think there'd be more than 2 million Indian voters, Indian American voters there. My guess, because 310 million is the population of the United States. And he was playing to his own congressman. He was playing to his own people there. Yes, 30% he was praising Modi. That is why he called Mr. Imran Khan. Because he thought, here is a man, my presidential election is coming. I can use Pakistan as the key in facilitator who can bring about peace. He's meeting him today. And Donald Trump is an enigma in politics. I can't define him, maybe you can. He's a total enigma, totally unpredictable. This is why he is the first American president who was willing to say publicly, maybe Modi told him in secret, that I'm willing to be the mediator. I'm willing to be this and that. Subsequently, he's gone back and forth. But he hasn't said, he hasn't denied that. Himself, neither Modi. Yes, the governments have, others have, but neither Mr. Modi nor Mr. Trump. What he originally said in that thing, whether he could deliver or not, that's another thing. That's the way, there are cynics. And the cynics, the pessimists, always look at the negatives of everything. I'm not a cynic. Somehow, I'm an optimist. I feel that Pakistan has had great potential. It's only extremely unfortunate that we haven't been able to have a leadership of the stellar leadership that Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah came, who did not live in this part of Pakistan, who lived in Bombay. And if you read his speeches from the Indian Legislative Council from 1910 to 1946, I've yet to see a Pakistan leader who measures up to the kind of things he mentioned in those speeches and the issues that he addressed of the world and of India of that day. I wish we had that level of leadership in Pakistan, which would inspire the Pakistanis to build us up in a strong, economically viable Pakistan where we could also figure in amongst the highest ranking people. I don't like Pakistan when they say in SDG you are this and that. There's a long report in the SDGs of the world today when Pakistan's ranking tragically is very low on that. These are the social indicators: literacy, education, health indicators, employment and others. And it has a direct impact on foreign policy. We may not think so. Yes, our defense forces are amongst the best trained in the world. Yes, we are nuclearized, but that's only part of the game. Unless and until we as a citizenry of this country are able to achieve other social indicators and economic indicators to compete with the best, we will never have that kind of weightage which our leadership would like to have at that level. I think I've spoken more than I should have. But for me, I feel that Kashmir is bleeding. Every citizen of Pakistan has total sympathy for Kashmir. I wish we could do much more. There's no way. I have seen that torture report of 430 Kashmiris. It goes into great detail of each torture. There cannot be worse tyranny and torture that the Indians are putting on their citizens of Indian occupied Kashmir. 370, there are experts sitting here, 35A. Yes, ethnic cleansing, all of that. But ultimately, the only country on which the Kashmiris can rely totally is the people and state of Pakistan. Thank you very much.